Lights out, we're underway. It's Motorsport Republica podcast.
Welcome everyone to the Motorsport Republica podcast. We have a very special guest in Australia, Jack Appleyard. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, boys. Good to be here. Lovely little setup you've got here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's a little good little setup. Now you are here for the Ashes.
I am, yes.
You got a bit of a tan going?
Yes. Well, I've not had that much cricket to watch. Yeah, it's not been good so far. We're recording this on the morning of day 5, probably the day where England lose the Ashes in record time. So it's a good job that the beer has been cold and the sun has been shining, because the cricket has been absolutely atrocious.
Well, for some, I suppose. But yeah, no, and we're just saying this off camera, and it's amazing English come out here and they just put on a show. And like for us as Aussies, we love it. Like, you know, it's just such a mad battle, and they sit in the sun all day and
getting red,
prawny. But no, it's been the most anticipated Ashes in my lifetime. I mean, 05 obviously was huge, but yeah, kudos for coming out and making the trip out here, mate.
Yeah, well, I was telling you guys just a second ago, you know, was booking the trip, getting the flights booked, and genuinely thought that we could come out here and put up a fight.
Yep.
we've been really bad.
Well,
so.
I don't think Piers Morgan helped you guys, saying to win 5-0, the worst Australian side ever. Bazball's back.
Yeah, the typical English. We've built ourselves up. We've given it big ones. Unfortunately, we've not been able to back up the chat in any way.
Oh, very well. Everyone at home would know Jack, but he does all the pit lane reporting for Dorna. Very distinct voice. We always hear you on a Sunday night here in Australia, so nice to have you on. We really appreciate you coming on.
No, it's good to be here. You know, obviously, don't get the opportunity to spend some time with you guys and do this in a more relaxed setting over a Grand Prix weekend. So nice opportunity to do it. Yes,
so today we're going to cover a little bit of your career. We're going to talk about 2025, 2026 coming as well. So all in all, a brief summary. What did you think of the 2025 season? What was your thoughts?
Good question. I mean, it was a year that was dominated by Mark. He's the story. He was the protagonist. But it was one where, although the racing on track, we were treated to a couple of decent races, but I don't think we had any all-time classics. But there was always talking points, whether it was on track or really off-track stuff as well, and I don't think anyone expected that. We all expect this year coming to be wild off-track with rumours already kicking into gear, but there was plenty for me in particular to get stuck into down in pit lane. There was loads of talking points, loads of stories, so a long year as well, the longest one ever, and I think a lot of us felt it by rounds 21 and 22 at the end of the year. We were ready for a rest and a break, but yeah, it was a year that might not go down in memory for what we saw on track and the races, but certainly the stories, the overarching stories will stick with us for a long time.
Do you think, you would have seen obviously the years Mark was out of it, but when Mark's back in the frame and winning, there's that much more stories to cover? Yeah,
I mean, right now on the grids, there's no denying the fact, other than Fabio and Pedro Acosta, who are big stars, but Marc Marquez is by far and away the biggest star in MotoGP. And when he's winning, when he's at the front, there's more people in the press room. There's more headlines being written. So it is good for the sport. Of course it is, because there's more eyeballs on it. And his story is, as you guys know, I don't need to tell you, has been an unbelievable one. Like what he's been through and how he's battled back. It was a great crescendo to that, and it's not often Mark is always laser focused, very rarely shows emotion, but you could see in Japan those images will live on for a long time, because it was one of the only times I think we've ever seen sort of those layers peeled back, and we saw the true Marc Marquez. And I think right there for a lot of people was the realisation of just the depths that he'd been to get back to winning championships again.
It's I know, it was incredible to watch. At the start of the year, what was your pre-2025 predictions?
I thought Mark was going to dominate. Yeah. I remember at the Sepang test, I was like, okay, could be interesting. And then the Buriram test, I remember day 1, day 2, was like, okay, this could be a long year, because he was so far clear of everybody else. I remember we were chatting to a couple of people that had worked with Mark in previous years at both Honda and Gresini, and they said if he gels with it in pre-season testing, then it's going to be a long year for you boys talking about it because no one's going to get close to him. And in that middle part of the season, once he clicked, it was exactly what they predicted. He was just a level above everyone else.
Yeah, he was. And it's funny, a lot of people said, last few rounds were awesome because, Mark wasn't there. But I found it more exciting with him dominating than when he wasn't there, to be honest with you. So I think for me, it's a funny year with Ducati because we joke about, did they really have a successful year? The 25 bike wasn't really that good, but then Mark dominates on it. So it's funny when we talk about that all year, and that's been probably the biggest talking point.
Oh, for sure. Like it's exactly right. Like we don't, and then you got the 24 with Alex Marquez comes from the clouds. Fermin Aldeguer wins. Like you don't actually, and then Pecco Bagnaia. Like what's going on there? He's the most roller coastery up and down rider we've ever seen.
Yeah, for Ducati, like you say, they won the Riders' Championship, the Teams' Championship, the Constructors' Championship, but at the end of the year, we're all going away going, well, they had a really tough year.
It's exactly right.
It's not the case. I mean, you walk past the garage and the stickers tell you that they did the Triple Crown again. So, I mean, they still are the people to beat. But we said it at the start of the year that they've stood still ever so slightly. They were as vulnerable, we thought, as they had been for a good 2, 3, maybe even 4 seasons. And certainly by the end of the year, that proved to be the case. It sets it up nicely for next year because you do think that for the first time, the other manufacturers can really get at them and start to trouble them.
For sure. Like, we saw at the end of the year, Aprilia and Bezzecchi. Like, there's so much. It's actually amazing. 2025, you're right. There was that many talking points for a year where there wasn't that much battle. Like, there's and the anticipation for next year is huge. Bez on the Aprilia, like what's the Ducati's going to do? Alex, Martin, what's Pecco going to do? There's just that much going on.
Yeah, I'm as excited for 2026 as I've been for a season for a long time because we all know all of the contract stuff with the new regulations, that will be crazy. And it's going to, when it kicks off, it'll kick off.
When do you reckon it's going to kick off?
Apparently, it already has. Like a couple of the very, very well-informed Spanish journalists are saying Pedro Acosta signed up already.
VR46.
No. I don't know if you've seen this, but they said the official wording that they put out was that what someone from a team had said, Project Hamilton is done.
Oh, so Factory Ducati?
Potentially. But I mean, personally, I cannot envisage. I'd love to see it because that would be unbelievable.
What a team.
Marquez and Pedro Acosta together.
Too Spanish.
It's a bit Rossi Lorenzo-esque.
Yeah, it would be unbelievable to see those two in a team together because they are two massive personalities and they absolutely would start to get at each other.
100%.
Whether Ducati would do that, I don't know. But apparently Pedro Acosta, according to some people that are way better informed than I am, signed up already.
Deal done.
So
wow.
we'll see. But
that's a bit of a scoop.
Once we get to Sepang for the first test of the year, there's already going to be rumours going, and I think it's going to kick off early, and it's going to continue to go through because I mean, who do you sign for? Because nobody knows what the bike to be on will be.
We talked about that last week. It's like, it's such a risk. We just don't know. We just don't know. You expect Honda to be good. You expect Ducati to be good. Aprilia is probably the biggest question mark for me because, I mean, they're building a great bike at the moment, but there's a lot of differences going to be on those 850s. So,
and Honda's got like an open checkbook for racing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think, for me, I think Honda would be my pick going into 27. I mean, you've just seen the way and the steps they've been making over the past 2 years, 18 months, even more so this year, what a step they took, and you feel that they're only going in one direction, and like you say, they've got the finances to back it up.
Do they have the riders?
At the moment, I don't think so, but I know for a fact they're keen to go and poach one of them. I'll be shocked if one of Fabio Quartararo, Pedro Acosta or Jorge Martin isn't on a Honda for 2027. I think that's their big target, to go out and get a world-class championship worthy rider to try and fight for the championship for them.
So Tommy, anyway, I've been looking at getting a new helmet.
Okay, right you are.
A replica helmet.
Okay.
So I'm looking at either like a Marc Marquez, Shoei, Rossi AGV, or controversially like a Nakagami Arai. What do you think?
Well, I think Nakagami Arai might not be a bad idea because they'd have to build them strong. Repeat hits throughout the whole weekend.
That's right.
Where would you find something like that?
Mate, motoheaven.com.au. They have all the helmet brands that you want. They've got all the racing suits, jackets, big brands, HJC, Shoei, Dainese, Alps. Mate, they have everything. How good's that?
That is so good. And I heard like there's free delivery over $150 as well.
Free delivery over $150. Super fast dispatch, which is amazing all around the country. They do an excellent job. You just check out their Google reviews. It's like all 5 stars. It's pretty amazing. They do a great job.
Give the people the website.
motoheaven.com.au. Check them out. They are the best in the business for all your motorcycle needs. And they've got a parts finder. You can get all the parts you want. Brake discs, chains, sprockets, spark plugs. I know that's all gobbledygook to you, Tom, but that is they are the best in the business. Head down to motoheaven.com.au and they will look after you. It's going back to this Pedro Acosta, the Factory Ducati thing. It is so rough on Pecco Bagnaia. There's so many branches coming off that because it's rough on Bagnaia.
No, rough. He was nowhere the second half of last year.
I know, but he's had one bad year. He's a multiple-time world champion for him. Could have almost won 2024. Hasn't even had a chance to ride 2025.
He's
26. It's just, but that's how fickle the sport is.
Yeah, it really is. 2 rounds, 3 rounds, and everyone says you're the greatest rider on earth, and then suddenly you have a bit of a dip in form and, he's going to be sacked at the end of the year. But that's just the way it works. But it's going to be a tough road back for Bagnaia. You do think so. I hope he does because he's already, we know, going to be a future MotoGP Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
2 MotoGP World Championships to his name. He's won over 30 races. You can't do that. Regardless of what people say of he was on the best bike, he was still having to fight off some very, very good riders like Jorge Martin to win those championships and win those races. So the talent is there. But just the problem is, if I don't know, then definitely Davide Tardozzi and the rest, that they've been trying everything and they don't seem to know what's going on. So can they pull it together? Can they get him back to his best? I think it's one that we'll know very quickly because you'll look at the first tests of the year and suddenly that rhythm is there and he's starting to look more like himself. Then, okay, we might get Bagnaia back, but if the bike hasn't changed that much and he has his struggles in pre-season testing, then wow, it could be a very, very long year.
What do you know about the bike the Ducati are going to produce in 26? Is it a 24 bike that's been, polished and shiny? Is it a brand new? Like what do you know that we don't know?
So there was a lot of talk during the year about the possibility, because obviously the engines have been frozen from last year to allow time for the teams to develop the 2027 bike. So the engines will all be the same, but because within the Ducati family, they homologated both a 2025 engine and a 2024 one, officially by the rule book, they could revert back to the 2024 engine, but they confirmed at the Valencia test that won't be the case and it will be the 2025 engine once again. There was a lot of talk whether the issues that Bagnaia was having was because of the new and improved ride height device, but they were obviously, although they won't come out and say to the media, but within the first 5-6 rounds of the year, Ducati tried everything. They turned that bike upside down to try and find some kind of an answer for Pecco Bagnaia. So already we saw in Valencia that they've sort of slightly tweaked the aerodynamics package. Whether that will have any improvement, we'll have to wait and see. But in terms of the big issues, the engine will be the same as this year. And as a result of that, they can't make wholesale changes to the chassis because it's all in one, basically. So, difficult to know what they can do exactly to be able to find some answers for Bagnaia. We'll have to wait and see when we get to Sepang, because I'm sure that Gigi, more often than not, has got some tricks up his sleeve. So maybe he's able to pull out one more magic trick to get Bagnaia back to his best.
It's a mental game, though. You're right. And we've spoken about this. So we spoke about this early on in the season, probably as early as Kota, where I think Mark mentally just has his number and he doesn't say anything bad in the media or anything like that. He's very smart in the media, how Mark talks, but I think just mentally he has Bagnaia's number and just obliterated the field and his own teammate. Because in Kota, it was a crazy thing Bagnaia said. He's like, Mark's the smartest on the grid. I'm just going to follow whatever he does when they had to get off the bike to do the bike stop when it was raining. I'm like, if you're a rival Would Lorenzo have ever said that about Rossi back in the day? Like, no one kind of gives anyone an inch, but he just kind of gave Mark all this rope, and I just thought, I don't know, I wasn't a fan of that.
I think Mark's just got this aura about him that we can feel as journalists, and certainly the other riders feel as well. Bagnaia was asked about this time and time again, and he was adamant. It's not the Marc Marquez effect. It doesn't matter that he's his teammate, but I mean, it has to have an impact.
For sure.
He has been the golden child of Ducati. When he came into the box after every session, there was Gigi Dall'Igna waiting to speak to him, waiting to understand what he has to say, and then suddenly became very lonely very quickly in that Ducati box, where he'd come in from a session, sit down, and he had to wait a while for people to come and listen to his thoughts because they wanted to hear from Mark first, and that obviously will have an impact. Sure. And I think as the results started to spiral, we then saw the effect of the mental game, because in parts of the season, I mean, that sort of 2-week period when he went from finishing dead last in Indonesia to then winning in Japan, I asked a question at the time to Davide Tardozzi, also in Phillip Island, the week after he was right at the back again. I said, can you comfortably and confidently say that bike you've provided to Bagnaia is deserving of being 21st out there? And although he wouldn't say it, the answer's no.
Yeah, of course.
The bike, yes, he might have his struggles, but it's not that bad for a 2-time world champion and a man that's won 30 races to be way outside of the points and almost a second and a half a lap slower. So that has to be mental. That so often we hear and we see Fabio Quartararo, Acosta, and even Marc Marquez to a degree as well, not on the most competitive bikes, but riding around problems and just extracting the maximum out of it. And for a lot of times last year, I don't think you could say that about Bagnaia, that he was having to wrestle the bike, to muscle it around and to extract the absolute maximum out of it.
That's a great point you make.
It's the difference between the good and the great. You know, we're riding around problems, and we're seeing the history of the sport. It's the same thing. I mean, it's incredible. Going back to Phillip Island, we haven't even talked about that. We're watching the race, and like, they are last and second last.
Yeah, Pirro was only a half a second behind him.
And we joked because Pirro was actually chasing him, and we think the board went out, said no passing, because it would have been the most embarrassing thing, all year. So, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know how he comes back from that.
Yeah. It's a valid point. It's such a tough year, and mentally that will have scarred him. And you just hope that he can go away, reset. And we were saying at the end of the year how important it was just to have one good result to try and at least have something to fill him with confidence going into the winter break. But he didn't really have that in Portimao or Valencia. So let's see what he can do. And if he comes out swinging in Sepang, I'll be pleased for him, because outside of what we see on track, Bagnaia is genuinely one of the nicest guys on the grid. An absolute gentleman. I love chatting to him, love spending time with him. So I hope, from a non-biased perspective, he can get back to his best, because I'd love to see him smiling again, because he's a great lad.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great for the sport. Great for the sport. Jorge Martin's situation, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. How close was he, do you reckon, to signing for Honda? Or was he close at all? And then, is there resentment in Aprilia for Jorge Martin right now?
No, not towards Jorge. Towards Honda, yes, because they felt that Honda were a little bit underhand in when Jorge was in his darkest moment. When he came back and spoke in Brno, he opened up, and you realised he thought that he was close to losing his life in that crash at Qatar. He was in hospital without his family for close to 2 weeks, with drains on his lungs, unable to eat solid foods. I mean, he was in a really, really dark place where, obviously, when mentally you're that low, you start to question everything. I mean, he jumped on the bike, and done 50 laps and hurt himself really badly on 2 separate occasions. So I think it's normal for someone in that position to be thinking, is this for me? Maybe it's just not right. And I think Aprilia were for a fact very, very annoyed at Honda for almost taking advantage of Jorge in that low moment and trying to poach him away from Aprilia. And that's why there's a great documentary, I don't know if you've seen it, just released on MotoGP.com, called From Heaven to Hell, where we followed Jorge with behind-the-scenes cameras for a lot of last year. Massimo Rivalry, as soon as he got wind of the fact that Honda had put an offer on the table to try and take them away from Aprilia, he said, no, that's not happening. And he jumped on a plane, went straight to Madrid and spoke to Jorge in person to try and work out what was going through his mind, to try and convince him to stay. And in the end, it needed a little bit of external pressure with Carmelo Espeleta coming out because Aprilia were not going to budge. They would go through the courts if they had to. And you can understand that as well. There was part of me that thought, from a team manager perspective, if a rider isn't 100% committed to our cause, then fine. I only want people in my team that want to be here. But then also, Jorge Martin is the best paid Aprilia rider in the history of the company. Massimo Rivalry moved heaven and earth to have the world champion on his bike. And in the space of 6 rounds, if he then wants to leave, that's a bad look from the top management of Aprilia towards him, saying, what has happened here for it to go so wrong so badly? So I can understand why Massimo battled as hard as he did. And I think now they've managed to get Jorge back on side. Results speak for themselves, and Aprilia have improved to the point where Jorge is happy. But I don't think that chapter is closed just yet. We'll see how he goes into 2026. But for sure, I don't think there's any resentment from Aprilia towards Jorge, but definitely there's a rivalry brewing between Aprilia and Honda, because I don't think they were best pleased at how they went about things in the shadows in those couple of months.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's great insight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we didn't look at it that point of view.
Nah, like
our point of view was the manager, Jorge Martin's manager, wanted the cash bonus.
I'm sure he would have got a nice check.
The 5% contract that he gets. So.
I'm sure it would have been good. But a lot of people wanted to criticise Jorge, and I actually wanted to stick up for him because he was, everyone was telling him, look at Marco, look how good the bike is, look how competitive it is. Why would you want to leave? And I can understand Jorge being a world champion, sitting there and obviously having an ego. All athletes have egos to some degree and have bravado. He's going, no one's going to tell me how I should feel about riding this bike. I need to work it out for myself. I need to be given the opportunity to ride this bike and fully understand whether it's suited to me. Because just because it's, looking pretty good in the hands of Marco Bezzecchi doesn't mean that I'm going to be competitive on it. So I think that there was a lot of him against the world in that sense, that he didn't want journalists or pundits or whoever to be out there saying that he was in the wrong, because it's my decision to make. This is my career, and I need to be the one to try the bike to understand whether this is the right path for me. And in the end, tried it, and Aprilia had improved to the point where it allowed him to feel comfortable and happy that, okay, yes, this project is going in the right direction, and it is right for me.
I guess, yeah, true. Very true. But at the same time, like, you got to remember, Honda, during that time when it was Le Mans and Silverstone, when it was all kicking off, Honda wasn't the Honda of the Valencia test now. So, like, we're all thinking, like, Aprilia was already a better bike. Honda's still way, way, way further back. Why are you going on to a worse bike again?
But you got to think, who's Jorge's best mate? Alicia Spargaro.
That's right.
He's testing the bike, and of course they're talking about it. And I'm sure, although none of them will admit, Alicia will have been well aware of the situation that Honda were interested in Jorge. And Jorge, as anyone would do, would have picked up the phone and gone, what do you think? And Alicia will have gone, these guys are trying. They are pumping money into this. We have got parts that just were chucking at the bike to try and find some kind of answer. This is a project going in the right direction. And I'm sure Alicia would have said, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad move.
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah, you're right. And I think Alicia came out and said, I got nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with it.
God, that was the biggest lie I've ever seen.
Yes. Like, but it's natural, isn't it? Like, it's just going to be natural. You're going to call your mate and go, well, hang on, in 27, these guys are going to have the budget, new rules. They've been successful before in this engine change. So, yeah, 100%. I agree.
It's like, you've got a mate that works for another company.
Yeah, of course.
You've got an offer to go there. What are you going to do? You're going to message him and go, what are they like? What can I expect? Should I do it? And then you'll give him advice. That's just how it works. It's absolutely normal for that to happen.
You said before Pecco is lovely to interview.
Yes.
Who's challenging?
Do you know what? They're all pretty good. Trying to think. The one that I've had the most sort of interesting back back and forths with is probably Frankie Morbidelli.
Yeah, okay.
Me and Frankie have quite different personalities, and sometimes we clash. Frankie can be very short and sharp with his answers, and he loves to catch you out if you ask a closed question like, Frankie, that was a good day, wasn't it? He'll just go, yes. And then you've got to, he always tries to catch you out. And in fact, sometimes you can work it to your benefit. I've had some good little interview snippets with him. I don't know if you remember the one where he had a good result and it was up in the air of whether he was going to stay with Yamaha. And I asked him, that's got to be a great result for your future with Yamaha. He's like, who says I want to stay with Yamaha? And he's like, well, do you? And he just looked at the camera and he just goes, ask Lynn. It was a great back and forth. So, yeah, sometimes Frankie can be good fun. Do you know what? It always depends. Always take it with a pinch of salt and never take it personally. I'm lucky enough to chat to riders on good days. I always say I'm the luckiest man in the paddock because I know every weekend I'll be in the podium. I'll be in Parc Ferme. I've got a 100% Parc Ferme record last year. The only person in the paddock to have that. But I also have to chat to them on bad days as well. And from spending time and chatting to them, you understand how to approach certain people after bad days, like you would in normal life.
Yeah, so, it's a skill. Yeah. Like you got to just pinch and prod when you can, but. Yeah, I don't know how you do it sometimes. I really would find it that difficult.
Yeah, I have to say, enjoy chatting to him. There's nothing I enjoy more than when a rider's had first win, first podium, and you can just see the genuine joy coming through their face. And that is a real honour to be there and share that moment with them and congratulate them after a first ever success of any kind. But then I also enjoy the difficult ones as well, because often those are the interviews that you want to listen to. Right? When someone has a bad day, when something big happens, and that's normally a crash or whatever, then those are the interviews that people want to watch. Those are the ones that you want to find out what happened, why it happened. And I'm just as interested as anyone at home of trying to understand what happened and why it happened. And those are the interviews I enjoy doing. It is challenging at times, and you try not to annoy people too much, but also I think they understand and I understand that it's part of the job. You've got to deal in facts, not feelings. And I think you get a little bit of rope as well. If you have spoken to them enough times on good days, then they'll give you a little bit of leeway on a bad day.
Yeah, it must be good opening someone up, because we sat down with Zarco and Phillip Island and had a 20-minute interview, and we walked in there and he did not want to talk to us at all. He was on his phone booking flights.
And Tom's peeping onto his phone oh, you're booking flights, eh? It's like, I was trying to look at my phone.
I was trying to just open him up in any way, because I really enjoy doing that. If I get someone coming in, I do that for my job. If I get something and they're closed off, that's a challenge for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really, it was a real struggle the first few minutes, but yeah, you just start talking and they go, oh, these guys are all right,
Find common ground.
Yeah. But yeah, he was having a rough trot as well on Zarco. He had the joy of Le Mans and, dad and mum there.
The
Suzuka 8 hour. And then he just did nothing afterwards. And we talked to him about the struggle going from obviously a superbike in the 8 hour back to a MotoGP, and obviously affected him. But yeah, that was sort of the bottom of the barrel for him, Phillip Island. And we were sitting at the top of the pits. We seen Cecchinello, he had his hands in his face and just
that Enchantra, I think.
Well, Enchantra there. Well, that's it's on that. How good's that with Moreira and Zarco for next year for him?
That's a great team.
Really
good team. I mean, Moreira is a hugely exciting talent. Yeah. And as we've said, Honda going in the right direction. I think he can really spring some surprises next year. I have to say, I know it might shock a few people, but I would probably have him as favourite to win Rookie of the Year over Toprak. I mean,
I'm with you. Yeah.
Really excited to see how Toprak gets on. But I think purely basing it on the competitiveness of the motorcycles they're on, I think you've got to go that Moreira's going to have an easier time of it, and maybe will have the ability to be a bit more consistent. I think Toprak, obviously, given his age, given what he's done, he's maybe a more well-rounded rider right now, and Moreira is still a young lad and he's going to be learning. But it's going to be a fascinating battle. And yeah, I'm excited to see how he gets on. Great to have Brazil on the grid as well.
Yeah, well, some news came out this morning. They said it's still a long way for them to get that track ready.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They were saying there's been a couple of issues because Dorna went there and they've checked it over and they go, ooh, still got a fair bit of work. So there's a few whispers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll go ahead. I hope.
Fingers crossed.
Hope so. Anyway, I was looking forward to the rum and cokes on the beach.
On that, and we had a quick chat before the pod. Favorite Grand Prix of the year?
I've got two. I love going to Austin. It's as is obvious, compared to Formula One, we don't get the opportunity to have too many city Grand Prix.
Yep.
So to be able to go to Austin, being amongst it, feel the atmosphere of the weekend. I love going to the US as well. So Austin's one of my favourites. And then Lombok's great fun as well. Love going to Lombok. You again, by the beach.
Yeah.
Sun is shining. You come back after a long day's work. And you have to remind yourself that this is a job, actually, when you're sat there in the pool drinking a nice cold Bingtang. It's a hard life, lad, sometimes. But obviously, with the ones where you have great fun and you enjoy it, there's some parts of the season as well where it turns into a bit of a slog.
Balaton Park.
Yeah, Balaton was an interesting one.
Yeah.
The thing that caught us all out, I don't know if you heard, was the Lake Balaton flies. I'll have to show you a video afterwards. Honestly, this
really
like nothing I have ever seen before. Once the sun came down, these flies were everywhere, and like you had to lift your t-shirt over your mouth and nose. It was horrendous. The amount of flies, and that caught us all out. So I remember playing football on the Thursday night, and the Hungarians there were looking at us thinking, these idiots coming to play football when the floodlights come on. We're there warming up, sun was still up. We're like, oh, this will be great.
Yeah.
Sun goes down, floodlights came on, and I must have swallowed about 20 flies.
Really?
Honestly, I'll show you a video afterwards. like nothing you've ever seen before. It was like there was a fog when you were looking forward because there were just that many flies buzzing around. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Was an interesting one. But the locals told us that we were just very unlucky. It's normally in the summer around a 4 to 5 day period where the flies are reproducing and they come out. So, yeah, we got caught out with that.
That's very funny. How do you go with all the travel? Because, Tom and I have done a few Grand Prix this year, and we're like, fuck, we're all kind of stuffed by the end of it. There was a lot of beers, obviously, probably didn't help, but...
well, we didn't treat it as probably more of a job as like you guys did. Like we were getting plastered every night. But still, I think going from Grand Prix to Grand Prix, it must be challenging living out of a suitcase.
Yeah, you get used to it. It is certainly within Europe. Yeah, I'm based in Europe, so it's you fly Wednesday, you back out Sunday night, you're in, you're out. You don't really get the opportunity to see too much of the surroundings, and it can be tough at times, especially 22 for pre-season testing, plus with trips here and there in between. You're missing almost close to 30 weekends in a year, so the opportunity to socialise with friends. I'm constantly on my phone of when mates message you go, oh, why don't we do this weekend, or I'll go there and do this. The first thing I do is check the calendar. I'm like, oh, free weekend, fantastic. But more often than not, it's, I'm away on that one. So that, is challenging, but it's part of it. I've also got the coolest job in the world. Yeah. Like, if I was not doing it, for the most part, I'd be sat at home on a Sunday, watching it on TV, like you guys and everyone at home. So the fact that I get paid to be there, I'll never complain about it. It's, an awesome job. And
you got to pinch yourself sometimes.
Yeah, super lucky to do it. We go to some amazing places in the world. And so when it does get tough at times and you think, oh, would I rather be here or there, you've got to go, no, come on. We're pretty lucky to be doing what we're doing.
Hey guys, Tom and James here from the Motorsport Republica podcast. We have teamed up with the legends at On Track Experience. They have 2 premium experience packages for the 2026 MotoGP season. James, tell me what they are.
They do, mate. You can have a guest experience opportunities, including paddock passes and access to Aussie riders. European hospitality with MLav Racing with Joel Kelso's team. Access to the back of the paddock, rubbing shoulders of all the MotoGP riders. Garage and service road access. Every MotoGP race on the calendar. Official MotoGP test days done, which is incredible. Full season experience start to finish, and possibility, Tom, of joining us on the podcast. Doesn't get better than that.
Wow. So we're looking for expressions of interest at the moment, guys. We're going to have the link below. Jump on board, single race or for the full season at a massively discounted price. Get involved, join us. And welcome to the 2026 MotoGP season.
We love it.
Thank you.
And like, I guess you got a good group of people around you in the paddock. You know, was it daunting first being in the paddock, and then just be like, you know, you might not know as many people, and then just trying to just find your bearings, because it can be a pretty daunting place.
Yeah, I'm was pretty lucky in the sense that I've been not a part of the Grand Prix paddock, but a part of a motorcycle paddock basically since I was born. My dad used to race in the World Championships. Yeah. The family had a team in the British Superbike Championship. Yeah, so since I can remember, weekends have been about packing the motorhome and going racing. So I've been used to that environment, but obviously compared to the British Superbike Championship, MotoGP is just on another level, so much bigger. But we're quite lucky that the guys we work with, Matt Burt, Lewis Sotheby, we've got Elliot York, Kiko Giles, then Fran Wild, loads of other people within the sort of the Dorna group, and then you've got loads of mates outside of that as well. You're all doing the same thing, the same interest, so it's very quickly and very easy to build friendships and get on with people. And that helps as well, because if you didn't like the people you were travelling with, then it would be a long year. But the fact that you're doing it with good mates makes it so much easier.
Love that.
Yeah, well, I said that to you in the car. It's funny, you go into the races and all the English stick together. Everyone goes out, gets a Guinness.
Yeah, we have got English corner in the media room where we flock, and in between sessions we're talking football, we're taking the mick out.
Yeah, we sit on the right side and we're sort of like trying to listen in. We want to be part of the crew. But it's funny, and I said to you in the car on the way here, it's like you do the Spanish sort of sit over there, but there's not a lot of emotion. A lot of people don't realise that these guys sit in the media centre and would watch the race on their laptop. You know, it's not you can look out to your left and you see them down the straight, but it's a full-time job. Like, it's not like we try to run out every session, go see qualifying, come back in, we're all hot and bothered, but they're watching it on their laptop. That's the biggest thing that was a surprise for me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, a lot of obviously the photographers are out, so the only people in the media centre during the sessions are journalists, and a lot of them are having to do session reports, race reports. So you've got to have the screen in front of you, live timing to understand what's going on. So yeah, for those lads, they do work hard. I have to say, I often joke that I've got it pretty easy. I go into pit lane, sun shining. Sometimes it gets a little bit hot, but it's not too bad. I can top the tan up. I just go and chat to people. That's my job. And then at the end of it, I'll go and chat to more people. And then I go home and wake up and do the same again tomorrow. So it's cool. Easier life for me compared to some of those guys working on deadlines. That is, it's a tough life, and they do long hours on a Sunday as well, having to make certain deadlines in different places around the world.
What's amazing about your job is there's you, you know. There's you and probably there's a TNT and there'd be a Spanish and Italian, but there'd be 5 people in the world doing your job. I mean, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a little group where, you know, there's myself, there's Nat Quirk, who works for TNT, there's Sandro at Sky, Ivascun at DAZN, and then some of the guys at Servus, the Austrian one, and a few others as well. It's almost like we're sort of, sometimes you think we're rivals, but we're always looking for the same people and working in unison. If one person hears something, they'll come over and whisper the little rumour in the ear of, oh, he's just said this or he's just said that.
That's so good.
And we're all battling as well. So a lot of people don't know, for grid interviews. So on a Sunday, for MotoGP now, there are probably 6, maybe 7 riders on the grids that will do grid interviews. So none of the KTM guys do. Marquez doesn't. Pecco only does Sky Italia. None of the Honda guys do. Bez doesn't. You know, suddenly all of the top guys, there's only normally on the front 4 or 5 rows of the grid 2 or 3 people. So all of us are all battling to try and get the same people, and that's why I think I heard people before, I always chat to your favourites on the grid. Because we don't have any other option. It's the only people we can speak to. And we like to at least get one rider to get a perspective on what's to come, and often we've got to do it on rota with the other TV channels as well.
Is that like contracts, or like how can Pecco say, well, I'm only speaking to them? Is that just his choice?
Yeah,
there's
rider's prerogative.
Yeah.
So they're allowed to do what they want. If they don't want to do interviews, they don't have to do interviews. I imagine Pecco might have some kind of a deal. I don't know the intricacies of it, but I guess he'll have some kind of a deal with Sky being the home broadcaster, or maybe he just feels more comfortable doing an interview in his native language, and obviously knows those guys better than anyone, so that's why he feels happy speaking to them. But yeah, it's hard work trying to get those grid interviews lined up. You constantly, the ones that don't, you all year saying, come on, just give me one question. I'm not going to ask anything too tough. It's just basically, what do we expect? It can be if it's 5 seconds, great. At least the guys at home have had the chance to hear what you've got to say and what you think.
Yeah, I always find that difficult. Like, it's, go back to the cricket. There's a wicket in the sky, the camera comes down, then you interview their interview. I'm like, that's so hard during a game or just before you go out and on these, 300-kilometer weapons just to give your 2 cents, It must be so difficult for the riders. Yeah. It's hard for you as well to extract any information.
Yeah, from a selfish point of view, I'd love that all of the riders on the grid at least did one interview, because I think it would be great. Yeah. And it's one of the things that maybe we can look at trying to grow the sports, giving more and more access. But then there's another part of me as well that actually, do you know what? These guys are going out there and risking their lives every time they chuck a leg over the bike. And if they want 15 minutes to themselves to really get prepared and really get focused, then fair enough. They've earned that. They deserve that.
Yeah. Looking at your career and going back to where it all started, I suppose, how do you get into this? Like, I'm sure there's people at home wondering that.
So, like I said, my dad used to race. My granddad used to race as well. I'll start with him. He was, so Colin Appleyard was a sidecar driver. Ooh. Did the TT.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Always tells...
Was he the rider or the monkey?
No, he was the rider.
Nice.
But he
can't say that anymore, Jack.
Always tells the story that his co-pilot didn't lean out, and he ended
it's always the monkey's fault.
Yeah, and he ended up badly hurting himself, and a big crash at the TT, and was in, I think it was in Sulby Hospital for nearly a month.
Shit,
that's something you can hold close to your chest for the rest of your life. But I've crashed at the TT.
Yeah. He loved telling the story.
Oh, yeah.
as you would. And then my dad used to race as well, won the British Championship. He was always a 125 rider, so won the British Championship 5 times, and then was in the World Championship for 6 or 7 years. So my family have always been about two wheels. I've always gone racing since I was born. I was been taken to various circuits around the UK, and then as I was growing up, we've always had a team in the British Championship, in 125s, in Super Sport, in loads of different classes. So my first time ever being on a microphone was a circuit called Croft in the north of England. And there was I think the rain had started coming. So
Standard.
As expected. So there was a red flag, and you guys might not know, but for anyone back in the UK will know who Fred Clark is, who was the voice of British Superbikes, always did the circuit commentary, did it for close to 40 years, an absolute legend. And as a kid, I always went into the commentary box to watch because it was the best place to view. You had all the screens, all the timing monitors, and often it's really high in the air, so you could see all the corners as well. So that's why I always went to watch. And anyway, Fred had been talking for close to 6 hours. Another red flag because of the rain. So he was like looking around the commentary box, no one there apart from 12-year-old me. And he went, right, let's talk to Jack. So anyway, started asking me questions, and it was
that's
like,
so good.
This kid's actually pretty good. And my mum will say, throughout all my life, whenever I was playing FIFA, MotoGP, I was always one of those weird kids that would commentate on the game whilst playing the PlayStation. And anyway, after that, they said, Jack, do you want to come back again? And I started going back and doing a bit more, and then helping out on sessions. And that's where I really got into it and started to enjoy it. And then a few years later, I actually was selling cars, like you, for my dad and my granddad, who had a company selling cars. And I applied for a internship at our local radio station, BBC Radio Leeds. Managed to get that and was doing freelance work for them, and that sort of snowballed, and I was covering the local teams around me, Huddersfield Town, Bradford City, Leeds United, and enjoyed doing that, doing a couple of different sports as well. Was taking the opportunity to shine a light on motorsport as often as possible. They had a show every night, and always I was ringing up, whether it be Dean Harrison, TT rider from near Bradford, or Ian Hutchinson, who's close to in the West Yorkshire region as well, and was constantly trying to tell people how good bike racing was. And then applied for the job at MotoGP in 2019. Firstly was working for the website, writing articles, doing different stories, and then got the opportunity to start travelling full-time in 22, doing different things, whether it be commentary for the free practice sessions for Moto2, Moto3, some of the qualifying sessions for MotoGP, and then obviously got my opportunity to step in on Sunday and take over from Simon Crafar at the start of this year. So that's my backstory. That's where it's
funny.
It
feels like you've been in the paddock for far longer. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
saying I look old.
No, not at all. You're
That's the Australian sun. That's got you good.
It's all those 4Xs I've been drinking. I can see it under my eyes.
Is commentary a goal for you?
No.
Okay.
Initially, yes. When I
Yeah.
first got into it, I want to be a commentator, but as I've been lucky enough to sort of do them both, and I love being in pit lane and in amongst it and talking to people and interacting. And as I've got older, I think that's where my skill set is better utilised. I love chatting to people. I've got a journalistic mind. Everyone in the office calls me Daily Mail Appleyard. I love finding those nuggets and selling the story, and sometimes been a bit clickbaity at times, and people have to rein me in. But that's just how I am. I love trying to find those big scoops and those big gossips. So yeah, I think I'm better suited, and I enjoy more being out in pit lane and getting the opportunity to talk to people and interact with people.
How interesting. That's amazing how it snowballs like that, though. Just from doing, like small commentary bits or looking at like Bradford or Leeds, and then bang, Dorna.
Yeah, like lots of people message me all the time of, how do you get into it? What do you do? And the biggest thing is it's difficult to find it, but just experience. Go and do it. No matter if you're talking to just two people, get out there, get as much practice in as possible, and then opportunities will come from that. The best advice I was given is say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Whenever you get given an opportunity, no matter whether you think you can do it or not, no matter whether you think you've got the skill set for it or not, say yes and then learn on the job.
Yeah.
Because if you say no, someone else jumps in front of you, and you've got to wait for that person to then say no. And often in this industry, people don't. So you just got to do everything you can and say yes to everything.
Yeah, it's such a unique occupation because you just can't have a bad day.
I've had plenty.
It's like you look at Matt Burt on commentary and yourself, like just having a shit morning, and like you just got to be on it.
Yeah.
Like in my profession, I can be bloody 50%. That'll be fine. But you can't be 50% for your job. You can't be 50% to commentate a MotoGP race.
Yeah, but as is normal life, sometimes you wake up and everything takes a little bit longer, and that's why.
Especially after the bintangs in the pool.
Yeah. Well, extremely professional. I only stick to my 2 limit on a Friday and a Saturday, as you can see my Pinocchio nose. But that's why the espresso machine is the most important thing in a paddock, because if you're struggling, then just a little cup of personality, and at least you can try and blag your way through it for the morning and hope you come to by the afternoon.
Yeah, we normally have that on the podcast. We have a Monday night pod here, and I walk in, I said, James, coffee, please. And then you're like, and then bang, and then, buddy, Bagnaia and bloody Morbidelli, you're fine. It's amazing what caffeine can do.
Yeah, and it's especially for me as well. If you are feeling a little bit sluggish, as soon as you hear them MotoGP bikes warm up, then it's hard not to wake up. If you're a little bit slow and you're having a tired morning, and as soon as those things roar into life, it sort of certainly puts you into gear.
Yeah, you get into the mode. What's your thoughts with Liberty Media coming in? Does it change much for you?
For the moment, no. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Pay rise?
No, not yet. So if anyone's watching, that would be nice.
Get the American money in.
But for the moment, no. I don't think, certainly from my perspective, I've seen small changes in the company of new faces coming in, which has been interesting to see. Sort of people from different backgrounds, which is great. We've had a guy just join us who used to work for Manchester United, some guys with knowledge of working in cricket, in rugby league. So that's great that initially they're coming in and we're bringing in different people into important roles behind the scenes in the company, in sponsorship, in marketing, in all that kind of thing, that have got experience of other sports and successful sports as well. But in terms of big changes that you guys will see on TV, I don't think that will come for 2-3 years, because they've got to get their feet under the table. They've got to understand what the sport is and how to market it. There's a lot of people say, oh, they need to do a Drive to Survive. That'll be it. But
it's been done.
It's been done. And at the time was brilliant. It worked for Formula One magnificently. But you look at it now, that is a market that is so oversaturated. Yeah. Name any sport, they've got a behind-the-scenes documentary on Netflix. Cycling, cricket, rugby league, rugby union, golf, NASCAR. Everybody's got one. So just because MotoGP has one doesn't mean that suddenly it's going to become get to the level of Formula One. So it'll take some time, and it'll change things behind the scenes. But it is exciting. I know a lot of people that were big Formula One fans are scared that MotoGP will go away from the core fans and make it more into this sort of celebrity A-list events that Formula One has done in some places. But we're a different sport to Formula One. Our core fans are so important that they will not go away from that, because without them, the sport won't keep ticking over and have the success. But attracting new eyeballs, getting more fans in, and creating a bigger, better atmosphere, and maybe putting on music events or whatever it might be at different races, that's only going to benefit the fans' experience, and I think it's only going to go in the right direction and be a big positive.
Couldn't agree more. Definitely couldn't agree more.
Yeah, you're in the right place at the right time. I think a lot of people talk about investment, and right now MotoGP, it's about to pop.
Yeah. I think
you could be the next Ted Kravitz.
Well, potentially.
What do you mean next?
I'm Mr. Daily Mail.
But I think us that watch the sport closely and follow it intently can all feel that 2026 is going to be a big year, and then 27 is going to be a massive year. And I'm thinking that 27 season, where we might introduce a few new circuits potentially, because a couple of contracts run down, that'll be the time that the sport really explodes. And it does feel like we're all heading in the right direction towards a big breakthrough year.
I couldn't agree more. Like, it seems to be bubbling at the surface. Like, even in social media, MotoGP's kind of changed the tact in social media. Yeah. They're a lot more relevant these days, and they 100% have copied Formula One in a few different things. Like, in 2010, no one was looking at Shinya Nakano walking in and what he's wearing into the paddock, but now it's like what Juan Mir is wearing and Fabio Quartararo. So like those small things have changed. There's now like MotoGP kind of influencer people coming through as well. So it's really bubbling at the surface, and I don't know what's going to make it go kaboom, if it's a season like 2021 Formula One, how it was so close, but it's almost there.
The big thing for Formula One is the female audience. I mean, that's been the biggest. I mean, it's amazing. I got mates at work, and they said, "Oh, my daughter was kicking me off the TV because the F1 was starting in 5 minutes." I'm like, I didn't even know she watched it. Yeah. And she goes, "Oh yeah, Verstappen's on pole, and Hülkenberg's out in 13th." Like, it's amazing, because what James just said, back in 2010, we used to go to Albert Park Friday, only ones in the grandstand. Now it's sold out.
Yeah,
sold out.
And a ballot to get a Friday.
They get 100,000 people on a Friday at the Formula One. Like, doesn't make sense.
No, it's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Since COVID, all of my friends for a long time have known I've been into motorbikes, into motorsport, and they never wanted to ask me any questions about it. They weren't bothered about it. And then suddenly, after COVID, every time I go back home and catch up with old school friends, to be like, oh, what about the Formula One? I was like, since when have you been into Formula One? And like, Drive to Survive was good. It was quite good. But it's amazing.
It's amazing.
The boom they've had. So hopefully we can have that, because if we can get a new younger fans watching it and being interested, then that can only be good for the future of the sport. Because I think it's okay to say that our sort of average age of a MotoGP fan is probably on the slightly older end.
100%.
So we need new fans, we need younger fans for in 20 years' time for the sport still to be growing and to be thriving.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked to OzGP about this,
and
they obviously do the Formula One and the MotoGP, and they want to bring young fans to the MotoGP sport, but they also don't want to piss off the old bogan sitting there with his tinny in his hand in the camping area. So it's a really fine line. But to grow the sport, you need the young people in the sport.
Yeah, it's not an easy job.
No.
Of course it's not, because those, like we say, those core fans, those guys that have been going to Phillip Island for 20 years and love it, you even want them to keep going, because they're part of the furniture, they're part of what makes the sport great. But we need more people sat around them enjoying it as well. And for sure, I think we can cater to different age groups, to different demographics, and like I say, there's ways of doing it. So hopefully we can start to implement them to see it happen.
What do they do in, say, Jerez and Le Mans that's different to Phillip Island?
So, I mean, for Jerez, it's a difficult one to compare, because in Jerez, MotoGP is a religion. Yeah. That weekend is circled on everybody's calendar in the region, and the amount of bikes that drive down, there's a huge party going on in the town, but it's all just happened naturally over the years. Le Mans is a massive weekend because they've got a huge camping area. They put on big events like DJs or bands. And again, they've got two really good, really competitive French riders to draw them in. So what works, which is the real challenge, what works in Jerez, where MotoGP has just been part of the framework for so long, isn't going to work in Phillip Island, because you're catering to different people with different interests. So Le Mans do a great job, and I think it's the fact that under 16s go for free, or it's under 16s or under 12s go for free. The camping is super cheap. They just want to get people there, which I think is a sensible way of doing it, because if you get people there on a cheap ticket, then once they're there, they're going to buy a beer, they're going to buy a burger, they might go to the merch stand, and that's when it snowballs from there. And if they go and enjoy it, they're going to come back next year. So I think the big issue we've seen in some places is you can't price people out. Just get the tickets as low as possible. Let's just fill it up. Let's get people there. Let's get the atmosphere going.
Live entertainment, as you said.
Exactly. And then once you've got people there, if they have a good time, they'll go home, and not only will they come back next year, but they'll tell all the mates, that was a great weekend. We had a right laugh. So
and then snowballs from there, as you said. Probably one final question for you.
Go on.
2026 world champion.
Oh, Marc Marquez, job done. See you later.
Done deal?
I think so, yeah.
Even with the sore shoulder?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's easy for us to get distracted and sort of overlook what he did in the mid part of the season by when he was out, and the dominance of Bezzecchi and Aprilia. But for sure, Mark is still the big favourite.
Yeah, the big fish.
Yeah. There's parts of last season when he was on that run of just winning every sprint, every race, where you felt he was in second gear, third gear. He'd take his helmet off at the end and he'd hardly broken a sweat. And you're thinking, wow, when he really does try.
Well, you'd see that front and centre, right?
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah, there's some times where it's always great to see. There were some races where you knew, okay, he'd been pushed. And some of them where it was like, okay, that was
practice session.
Yeah, a walk in the park for him. So, yeah, still the massive favourite. Is undoubtedly one of the greatest riders to ever swing a leg on a MotoGP bike. So I think you'd be foolish to go against him. But I think he'll be made to work a little bit harder. He might not win it with 6 rounds to go. Might only be 3 this time.
I've got a few more questions for you. Marc Marquez, Valentino Rossi, VR46. As a reporter, I have to ask the question, do you still feel tension in the paddock? Especially when Rossi's in the paddock. There's a famous footage of when Marc and Rossi walked past each other and it went crazy. Do you still feel that in there?
Yeah, for sure. But not within the VR46 Academy riders. Because I think there's a good relationship. We, obviously, in the media, at the start of the year, wanted to play up the Marquez versus Bagnaia rivalry and the fact that we're going to be at each other. There was going to be a wall in the garage, but it wasn't, unfortunately, because we would have been a great story. It wasn't like that at all. I went to the Ducati launch at the start of the year, and everyone was sort of suddenly became body language experts, was watching a pair of them and being like, oh, did he was that a bit of side eye from Mark there? Were they actually getting on? But you could tell that was at the infancy of the relationship, and you could tell they were chatting, the professional, and the other guys like Marco Bezzecchi, I think a few years ago, there was a little bit of angst between him and Mark. I remember he got knocked off in Valencia and was really unhappy with Mark. But this year, I think there's a mutual respect that's grown between them. You know, Valentino, obviously, I'm sure, still, as we've seen from different podcasts, is unhappy at what happened. But the academy guys, I don't think they let that affect them, because they've got to go out there and do the job. And if they're not thinking clear, if they're not thinking straight, and they've got all of this sort of noise in the background, then it's going to affect how they perform. So when they're both there, it is obvious. And I think it's us guys that big it up and make more of it than it actually is. But I'm sure for them, it's there's mutual respect.
It's very we love it. And we love talking about it. And it's funny. We'll go on a tangent and talk about something. Like it could be Nicky Hayden's last win or something, and it'll somehow always go back to Rossi versus Marquez. We get that many questions. It's still, you can feel it just rumbling.
We had a question last week, and it was what was the biggest rivalry of 2025 in MotoGP? And I said Rossi Marquez.
Year on year, it's
amazing.
And some people don't like it. Some people love it. It's not going anywhere.
It's not.
Whatever people's opinions on it are, 2015 will always be, for good, for bad, for the ugly, will be the most talked about MotoGP season ever.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, it was unbelievable drama, and you couldn't have scripted it for it to play out as it did at the start of the year. So it's obvious that even 10 years on, as much as some people are like, oh, move on, talk about something new, well, it's part of the history of the sport.
It is big history. Who'd you love watching when you're before the paddock, I guess, when you were younger?
I was born in 1995, so when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, when I was massive into MotoGP, Rossi was the man. I had
exactly the same as us. 95.
That was my age growing up. So I had the yellow t-shirts, the yellow caps, and I remember running around Donington Park just trying to get a photo with Valentino. But I was an absolute nut as a kid. I was lucky enough to be in the paddock at 8 or 9, and I had my autograph book, and I'd go and I wanted to get everybody's autograph, whether you're 125, 250. I was a proper nerd. Well, I still am now, actually. But I used to love it. I also, as well, I think I can probably say this now, but when I was a little bit older, sort of 13, 14, 15, I was a bit savvy as well, and I used to go and ask riders for knee sliders, get them to sign them.
Yes.
Smart.
And then I used to sell them on eBay.
Oh,
I know. This is a confession. It's terrible, I know. But as a 14-year-old kid, I was like, I need a little bit of pocket money. So,
that's smart, savvy.
Yeah, I used to do it. I remember there was one time, a great story of Colin Edwards, where he was like, oh, what's your name, mate? I'm going to write it to Jack. And I was like, no, don't worry, it's fine. Don't worry, Colin, just the signature enough is alone. And he was like, no, I insist.
So nice. So nice.
And it said to Jack, and then the signature. So funnily enough, I've got 2 that I've kept at home. That one, because I couldn't sell it. And then there was one, the late, great Craig Jones, World Supersport rider, was lucky enough to get his knee slider with his signature on it, and then unfortunately 3 weeks later sadly lost his life. So that's one that I've always kept, and I've got framed at home.
Wow.
Colin Edwards, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Cost him £100 bloody quid.
Yeah. I know. I remember walking away devastated, thinking, bloody hell, what am I going to do with this?
That's funny.
That's great.
Oh, we better see if the Aussies have won the Ashes, eh?
Yeah. Should we have a quick check now?
Yeah, let's have a quick look.
Here we go. We'll refresh it. Have you guys managed to get it? Oh, look at that. We've not lost a wicket.
Oh, no.
194 to win. Right, wrap up. It's game on, boys. I tell you what.
Bring out the 4Xs.
Here we go.
Where's the rain? We need the rain.
Yeah, I know. We've got sofa and the TV here with the beers in the fridge. Once we finish this, we're going to get the cricket on. Oh, look at that. Can't believe it.
Give it 20 more minutes, it'll be a pommy collapse.
Gets even better. Match delayed by a wet outfit.
Oh, no.
We're back in it.
It's coming home.
2-2.
Thank you, Jack. Really appreciate you. Fantastic.
Guys, pleasure.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Love being here.
We'll see you at some stage next year, hopefully.
Yeah,
well, we will,
absolutely.
definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of Australia.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, guys.